Hey there guys, how is it going? Today we are going to talk about Stadium Challenge Deoxys. What is it, why is it so rare, and why did an auction for one just finish for $12,600? So let's answer the obvious question first. What is a Stadium Challenge? So a Stadium Challenge was a special type of tournament that allowed players to qualify for the World Championships. They were very short-lived and they only ran for 2 seasons, in 2004 and 2005. The promo for the 2004 events was a Black Star promo Metang. Now this card is pretty rare and valuable in its own right, but it doesn't touch the Deoxys. The reason is, in 2004 they held quite a few Stadium Challenges, I believe mainly based in the US, but there were a decent number of tournaments. In 2005, only one Stadium Challenge was held. Now before we go into more detail on that, I want to address the elephant in the room. This is one of those cards where when people first see it and hear about how rare it is, one of their first reactions is quite often, oh, I'm pretty sure I had one of those, or I definitely remember seeing this. But this is not a card that you likely own without knowing for a fact that you own it. The reason that a lot of people seem to think that they have it is that this is a variant from a set. It's a reused artwork, and this particular artwork has had many variants. So in addition to being a regular rare in the set with a reverse holo version and an exclusive Cosmos foil version in the theme deck, this card did also have a number of different promo versions. In addition to the Stadium Challenge version, there was a Destiny Deoxys stamped version, which came within the Destiny Deoxys DVD, and a Regionals Championship version. This is the one that most people likely have if they sort of remember seeing a Stadium Challenge Deoxys, because this card was a lot more widespread. There were a ton of regionals throughout the year, so many people got this card, and there is a lot in circulation. Just looking at recent eBay sales, the regionals version goes for around $20 to $25, which should give you an indication of how much more common this is than the Stadium Challenge version. I'm going to be mentioning the regionals version again in a moment, but first let's go back to the one Stadium Challenge that occurred in 2005, on June 25th in Salzburg, Austria. So as with most Pokemon tournaments, the tournament was split into the Juniors, Seniors and Masters age divisions for playing, with the top 4 of each age division receiving a qualification for the World Championships, and the first place finisher in each age division receiving a paid trip, not only for them, but for one other person to accompany them, usually for the parent or guardian of the Junior or Seniors, to go to the World Championships in San Diego. Now, if you're a modern day player, you would probably imagine that an event like that would attract thousands upon thousands of players. But no, the venue was capped at a maximum capacity of 100 players across all age divisions. That's just how tournaments were at the time. They weren't these huge events like they are today, where you can go to a regionals and see thousands of people with vendors and streams and everything like that. They were often just very small events. So you might think, okay, well, it was capped at 100 players. That means there's likely 100 copies of the Stadium Challenge Deoxys originally given out, right? Well, not exactly. I said we'd go back to the regionals version in a moment, and now we will. The tournament organisers did not receive enough Stadium Challenge Deoxys in order to be given to everyone. But it's estimated that around half of the players who attended and played in that event received the regionals version instead of the Stadium Challenge version, simply because they weren't sent enough. So that's why for years we've pretty much accepted that 50 is the most likely number of these Stadium Challenge Deoxys that were originally given out at this event, because they said it was around half of the players, and it was most likely a round number because they would have been sent them in sealed packages containing multiples of the card. Now, in a hobby as big as Pokemon, 50 is an astronomically low number. This is probably the smallest production number of any officially released English card outside of the World Championships. This means that this card is only beaten in rarity by the trophy cards from Worlds and some of the higher stamped placing cards from Worlds. And this does outdo a lot of the lower stamped placing cards. I think it is pretty much only finalist and semi-finalist and now champion that are going to come above it. Also remember that this was 50 copies given out 16 years ago, so there's a much more increased likelihood that people will have left the game between then and now. I mean, if you look at promos from Worlds and look at ones from, say, 2018, 2019, compared to 2004, 5, 6, the amount that the recent ones show up are obviously in much greater numbers, because these people are still in the game, they got them recently, the cards are cycling through people's hands, much less so for the older cards. Now at this point, just before I jump into the history of the values and sales and everything of this card, I want to briefly mention the PSA Pop report. So if you look at the PSA report for this card, you'll see 3 copies graded, 1 in a 10 and 2 in a 9. But that's not the whole story. Initially, and for a little while, PSA would not recognize the Stadium Challenge as a variant, so there are some other copies out there graded, including my own personal copy, which is a Stadium Challenge Deoxys, but is graded as though it is the regular Deoxys from the set. So the pop report should be a little bit higher than it is, but not a huge amount higher. Now let's take a little bit of a look at previous sales and what this card has gone for. And I'm going to start by saying, I think this card has pretty much always been underappreciated and undervalued. I think this recent sale of $12,600 might be the first time that the card has actually received a fair sales price compared to the rest of the market when you take into account its rarity. I'd say there are 2 main reasons that the card is underappreciated. First is that people just don't know about it. Like, there are a lot of collectors who are pretty knowledgeable who have just never heard of this card. It's just not one that's ever popped up on their radar. And second, it's tied to the fact that while it is a very rare card, it is still a variant of a card from a set. So it doesn't have as much appeal as something like the Metang from the previous year, which, while had a lot more copies out there, had unique artwork and a unique collector's number. Not as many people are as interested in the variants as they would be in unique artwork cards. But here are the few sales price numbers that I've either been a part of or have been able to find. But beware, there aren't very many of them. So we start off in April 2006, a PokeGym post from the Dark Twins reveals that about 4 to 6 months before, so late 2005, not too long after the tournament, he purchased a copy for $50. Some other PokeGym posts from around the time mention that eBay sales for them had finished anywhere from $50 to $200. The next sale I know of is my own personal copy, which I purchased in late 2010, and I purchased that for $125. Then jump forward to October 2017, my wife Laura picked up her copy for $400, although hers was damaged. It featured a crease across the top border, which will have affected the value. And then we come on to that auction from a few days ago. Now, I know there have been other Deoxys sales, but they've all happened privately. And if you look at the data for which sales I know about, I only really know about them because I was directly involved. I can certainly say that I personally do not ever remember a fully public auction for one of these cards. So what do I think the future holds for this card? Well, an auction ending at $12,600 is something that people take notice of. I don't think we'll have to worry anymore about serious collectors not being aware of this card's existence. This is something that will put the cards on people's radar, and I think that the next copy that goes up for auction will likely beat this price. The only problem is, these cards do not change hands very often, so the next auction could be a year's time, it could be 5 years' time. There is just no saying how soon someone is going to be willing to part with one of these cards. So that is pretty much all I have to say today about the Stadium Challenge Deoxys. I really hope you enjoyed the video, hopefully you found it informative. Let me know in the comments, was this the first time you've heard of the card? Have you known about it for a while? Have you been desperately trying to add one to your collection? If you were involved in this auction, let me know. How much were you bidding? What were you hoping to get it for? But as always, all that is left to say is thank you guys again for watching, and I will see you next time.
Thanks for watching. Check out some more videos right here.
And don't forget to subscribe for more awesome Pokemon content from DJ Gigabyte.
Gotta catch 'em all!